Hi everybody, it's MJ again, back for another go. In my series of Why I Write. So today I'm going to talk about what I write. I believe I touched on it a little bit in last week's episode when I was telling you guys that I write interracial romance. Like I said, the genre that I write is a mixture of interracial romance, being that that's the characters from different races, contemporary romance, of course, because it's set in modern times, but it's also a mixture of women's fiction, and if you ask me, primarily that's more or less what I write is women's fiction. I believe it's been called women's fiction with elements of romance, or as my husband likes to call it, reality romance. So I like the tag of reality romance. Not sure if you can find that on Amazon, but hey, I'm gonna hashtag that up. I've always put reality romance in. So, but anyways, what made me pick this? Now this is funny. So like in my last episode where I was talking to you guys about how the fact that I didn't even read romance novels growing up, as avid of a book reader as I am, my focus was mostly on science fiction, Star Wars stuff. Star Wars fan, yep. Science fiction, mystery. I love John Grisham. Time to Kill. Whew, Lord have mercy, that book made me cry. I've read some Stephen King's. I'm not too much into too much creepiness, but there are a few Stephen King books that I really, really like, and my favorite Stephen King book really is Cell, Cell. If you haven't read it, oh my God, it'll make you look at your cell phone in a whole nother way. If they ever made that into a movie, I would love to see it, and it would probably be creepy. And if I have missed it being made into a movie, please put the comments below that the movie's been made and let me know so I can go find it so I can watch it, because that book I've read on multiple occasions and I cry at the same part every time. Yes, a Stephen King horror book literally made me cry. I really like one of these characters. But anyways, but aside all that, what made me write women's fiction? Okay, so I decided to start writing women's fiction when one day it dawned on me the seriousness of what it is that people go through, and that a lot of times people don't know that they're going through, that somebody is going through something major, because we're humans. We always don't want people all up in our business, and we have a tendency to put a smile on our face, even if on the inside that is not how we're feeling. I mean, mainly it's because we don't want people to be asking us questions and trying to get up all in our business and find out stuff we don't want them to know. Or it might be something we're not comfortable talking about, but we really need to let somebody know. But again, reality is sometimes it's not in us to get it out like we want to. So I thought writing women's fiction would be a good start. Especially when, as I mentioned before, I had the strokes and whatnot, had partial paralysis, had to go through all that recovery, teaching myself to read again and a whole bunch of stuff again. And when I talked to people and it came up and I said, hey, yeah, I was 32, I had a stroke and everything, and everybody's like looking me up and down going like, no, you didn't, like I'm lying. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And they're like, no way. And it dawned on me at that point. It was like, you know what? I can say this all day long, and a lot of people probably not necessarily going to think it really happened. But trust me, my family and those medical bills that came with it attest to the fact that it did. But like I said, there's a lot of things that go on in life that we don't always talk about. And we deal with it in different ways. Our life experiences from childhood growing up oftentimes dictate how we will respond to different circumstances. So I thought it would be fun, and again, this is me learning how to tell a story, If not wanting to just write something and just write dialogue and action and this is what happened, because honestly, the first version of A Heart Not Easily Broken that got written, that's pretty much how it happened. It pretty much was this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but nothing in between to really explain why a character did what the character did, which is why you got to know your characters' backstories. That's a whole nother video. But suffice to say, knowing your characters' backstories make a big difference in being able to tell your story, because it allows you to be able to, first of all, as the author, know who it is you're writing about, because really the characters we create are people too, not live breathing characters. They're alive in our heads, they're alive in our readers' imagination as they're reading it. But for the characters to really come across and connect with your readers, and the best way to connect a reader to the book and to the story and make them want to come back for more, from either the characters, the storyline itself, or hey, just you, the author, because you were able to create a story that well, it makes a really big difference. So for me, definitely getting to know the characters is key. So as a part of this, it had to do with my decision to write women's fiction, because like I just said, it's all about not knowing what's really going on. So I started thinking about some of the real world women's issues that go on, that a lot of times, I'll say, unless it's something that's happened to you or someone close that you know, may not necessarily be what you want to talk about, the topic that's talked about. Now, a lot of things have changed, a lot. Like I said, this book was originally written in 2012. And to me, as time is going on and different things are coming out in the world, I kind of feel like it was written maybe just a little bit before its time. I don't know. That could just be me saying it. I don't know. But I decided to tackle, and again, for my very first book, I didn't just write a regular book. I didn't just write a regular romance book. I had to do extras. So I'm writing about interracial romance with, again, I wasn't a romance reader, but I'm writing a romance book, okay? I, like I said, chose interracial romance, black female, white male. That's a whole nother story right there. Learning how to write a character, learning how to write a male character. You see where this is going, right? Learning how to write a white male character. I'm neither male nor white. Research. Again, that's another topic. We'll come back to that, about learning how to write a male character. That was, regardless of race at this point, just writing a man anyways. That was a whole nother journey for me. But the subject matter that I decided to tackle, that was the real deep subject matter, had to do with rape. In this particular instance, is recovering from a rape. What does a woman go through after having such a traumatic experience? You know, is she going to easily be able to return to who she was before? Is it going to determine what she does with the rest of her life? How does that affect the relationships around her? And if she's in a relationship, how does it affect that relationship? Those are some of the topics that are addressed in A Heart Not Easily Broken. I think it's very interesting that the reviews that have come back have come in one of two ways. You have the group of people who love the story because they love the fact that it's an interracial relationship and they got to see it addressed in a different way that to them was a bit more realistic about maybe some of their personal experiences. I've had readers and reviews and readers who've DM'd me on social media who said that, or talked to in person actually, who have told me that the story actually made them take a second look at the possibility of exploring relationships outside of their race. Hey. I've also had readers come back and say, and these are usually the ones that get the 1-star, 2-star reviews, that they felt the book should have had a trigger warning. When this book was originally published, there was no trigger warning ever put on it. During the times that this book has been updated and re-released, there has still not been a trigger warning put to it. In talking with my publisher, this was a very interesting conversation that we had. But in talking with my publisher, we decided that putting a trigger warning on this particular book, or on this book, would be a spoiler, which would already just take the story, already take the focus off the story anyways, because you're going to be more concerned about when this is going to happen, because now you already know something like this is going to happen, and you're no longer going to be invested in actually reading or getting the full experience of actually reading the book. And then 2, how many best-selling authors' books are out there that have no trigger warnings on them at all, have in turn been made into movies, do you see that are out there? There's a lot. The one that stands out in my mind the most would be John Grisham's A Time to Kill. If you've seen that movie or have read that book, you know that there is a very, very, very traumatic scene that happens in that book that involves a minor. And it is not a pleasant scene to read. And in fact, the whole thing that happens in this book is that scene by itself, amongst other things, but mainly that scene by itself is the main premise of the entire movie, because all the stuff that happened was based on what happened to this young girl. Had that book had a trigger warning, would it have been a book that was a best-selling book? Would people have read it? Or was it just a matter of just the story that was being told, and the reality, the realism of what was told in that story is what made that book popular? Something to think about there for a minute. But I like the fact that one of the recent reviews that is on Amazon for sure, that came up, I love the fact that the reader gave the book a good review. Thank you very much. She enjoyed the story. She enjoyed the subject matter. And then she did make a point to mention that the subject matter about rape, where she felt like it actually did not need to have a trigger warning put on the book, because number one, pretty much anybody who really felt that strongly about it definitely put that in reviews. And if you're a person who reads reviews before you buy a product, then you would have seen it. Now, I will say this. Again, remember, first book that I ever wrote. Writing it into the story was a very, very, very big challenge. I struggled with several different versions of how to deal with the concept or the storyline of rape in a book, because I did not want to put myself through something mentally, or take away from anything that a woman who has been through something like this, God forbid that it's happened, but unfortunately it has, for anyone to have to sit through reading something like that again. So I want to tell you, number one, while addressing the subject of rape in my story, I did take into consideration how readers who've gone through something like that and those who have not gone through something like that would take the story. And I will say this without giving too much away by way of the story, because if you should decide to check out A Heart Not Easily Broken, again, A Heart Not Easily Broken is the first book in my series, The Butterfly Memoirs, and it is a perma-free book, so it is free. On all digital platforms, you can download it. But I will tell you right now, the way that the scene is addressed, you never have that there's never a rape scene in the story at all. I did not write that in. What was written in was an allusion to what could have happened, and then what happens after the fact. There's never anything about what's going on at that moment. I could never write something like that. But for me to be able to be getting those type of reviews, good and bad, which, hey, it is what it is. I mean, I appreciate hearing anybody's point of view, anybody's feedback of what they felt about the story, because regardless of whether you like it, whether you're not, fortunately, I've been on the higher side of people liking it more than anything else. I always see every review as an opportunity to learn something. What I picked up the most from what people have said is that I wrote it well enough. The bits and pieces that I did put in there, or the allusion to of what I put in there, was something that was written well enough that it did trigger some people. I'm sorry that it did, but it just means that when it comes to words and storytelling, I did my job. Any story that I write, I want it to come across as something that is an emotional roller coaster ride. I want you to laugh, because I like laughing. I want you to cry, because sometimes you need to. I want you to get mad, because that's life too, right? If you don't have those type of emotions in your story, or your story is not written to the point that a person gets so invested they're up all night long and turn the page, even though they've got to the last chapter and it's like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I gotta get up in a couple of hours and I'm gonna keep reading because this is so good. When you have a reader tell you that makes you feel really good about what you've done. When you get a reader that can tell you that your story made me think about some things a little bit differently in my own personal life and made me say, I might want to give that a try, or I never thought about it like that before. That's when you know you've done something right. So when it comes to what I write, the honest answer to what I write is, I write what I would like to either talk about or what I've heard other people talk about. I write about something that I find that I can relate to in enough of a way that I can realistically tell the story in a way that the readers will be able to get seriously invested in the story and the outcome, and either see themselves in the story, see somebody they know, because I've had that happen too. Somebody say, do you know so-and-so? That's my cousin out of town, because I swear to God, so-and-so is just like her. And I'm like, oh, for real? Okay. Good imagination. Awesome. But yeah, finding something that you are really passionate about, something that you can really get into, or as they say, write with the books that you would like to read. If you have read thousands of books that you've enjoyed, but it's not exactly doing it for you because you feel like there's something else that needs to be done, find a way to write it. Because that's one of the other things you got to realize. One of the things I was scared about the most before my first book was published was that somebody might not like what I have to say. Somebody might not like my writing voice. Somebody might not like my characters. Somebody might not like the fact that I touched on rape in what's supposed to be a romance story. And I've had to learn that it's okay. That's why we have this thing called genres. And everybody doesn't like all genres. That's okay. Because you got some people who really, really do. There's some people who might want to read your book because they can find it inside of themselves as to being an experience that they can relate to, that say they may have not feel super confident about something and was too scared to do it, but seeing, and they don't know somebody else who's done it, but maybe reading a book that they felt like they could really get invested in gives them a little courage to try something new. Then hey, I like that. And personally, I feel like for any author who's getting out there, who's nervous about sharing your work with anybody, scared of what somebody can say, biggest thing to know is, number one, do not be scared to have somebody hurt your feelings, because sometimes it can be a learning experience. Because like I said, when the first version of A Heart Not Easily Broken, my feelings got hurt a little bit when it was like, nah, we don't like that, you need to try that again. But that being said, made me work harder to do something that has come out way, way better on this side of things. That's gotten close to 300 reviews. That has the average star review is around about a 4.2, I think. I think that's a really good job. And like I say, even the negative reviews, they've always taught me something to do differently for the next book, and the next book, and the next book. Because that happens. It's fine. It's okay. It's all a learning experience. Just know that whatever it is, however it is that you're trying, the writing voice that you're trying to find, the topic or storyline that you want to write about, do it for you, number one. Because the more you put yourself into your work, the more you're going to work to make it as best as it can possibly be. And I'm going to tell you, 2020, I have reread all my books multiple occasions, because hey, if you can't entertain yourself, you're not going to entertain nobody else. If you can't find the joy in rereading your own work, edited, published, put out there, the same thing that everybody else is, that you're asking to go buy your product or to buy your work and give you reviews, if you can't read your own stuff like that and enjoy it to the utmost of your ability, to be like, man, I forgot I wrote that, or man, who wrote, dang, this is a good story. It's a testament to how I feel about my work, because I don't get bored reading my stories. I'll even be, some of them, it's been a minute that I've read, I'll even come across spots in there that I'll be like, dang, I kind of forgot that actually happened. Or, wow, I remember when I came up with that line. Yeah. Pause again. I had all this enthusiasm for what I was saying, and then I looked at my phone and I had ran out of space. And I didn't have enough space to give out my shout outs. So, first of all, let me shout out to all my sponsors. First of all, the Grind Factory Studios. If you're looking to record any kind of media, this is the spot. Best prices in town. Check out grindfactorystudios.com for more details. To Major Movement Inc. If you're looking to get some support for your promotions and your marketing and whatnot, this is the team you want to turn to. If you're looking for promotional materials such as videos, animation, whatnot, Candid Creations, those are the girls you want to check into. Even can hook you up on getting your personal style together for those new author photos. All the information for these wonderful services will be listed down below. So, as I'm saying now, if you guys like this video, please like, share, comment. Last couple of videos I've done, I've gotten comments and I was like, ah! I love talking back. So please leave me a comment and I will happily respond. Other than that, you guys stay safe, take care, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.